Okay, so it's July 15th of 2025. There's that soft white wheat. I put it in a mylar. I sifted it, went through it, whatever. I think the wheat is fine. So, clearly I didn't store it correctly, right? And when I got that bucket from downstairs, and when I brought it up, it sat in here for actually quite a long time, so, I got moths up here. There's no really moths downstairs. It's cold down there, right? We're up here, we bake. So anyway, there was moths on the inside of the bucket. Besides that point, I sifted everything, went through it. All the kernels pretty much felt okay, right? Like, they weren't, it smelled like wheat. If it was weevils in there, the kernels wouldn't have held their shape. And I probably did this, I'm not exactly sure when I bought the soft white wheat, but it would have been a couple of 2-3 years ago. And if there would have been weevils in it, it would have been worse than what it was. Let's just put it that way. It would have been crawling with weevils, okay? And so anyway, after I sifted it and just kind of went through it, I bagged it up into basically 2 one-size gallon bags. I know it doesn't seem like much. And I threw in 4 500cc oxygen absorbers, which is more than enough. Okay, and that would be like 2,000 cc, to which 2,000 to 2,500 cc is good for a 5-gallon bag of wheat. So I double dosed it. Okay, you can't overuse oxygen absorbers. Okay, but you can underuse, especially if you don't seal, which I didn't seal. And that bag, after I went through it, had only that, from what I could tell, for an oxygen absorber. So, clearly it didn't work, right? Plus the bag wasn't sealed. So anyway, I wrote down for sprouting, sprout first. Okay? Now I'm going to put these in this bucket for sprouting. So basically, I've got myself a little leftover. You can see it's right there. And I have this little 3-layer metal stainless steel sprout thing that I've never used yet. It's still in the box. So I think I'm going to do 3 layers of this. Just see how it goes. These should still sprout. Hold on a minute. Okay. And then I found a little leftover in a bag from the farms of something. I don't know if that's rye. I don't think it's oat groats, honestly. I think it's rye. Yeah, or I don't know. It's something. Okay, so I'm working on my playlist here. I don't know if I'm wasting my time or not, people. And of course, like I said, I'm taking down notes, whatever. Right now, as I'm writing, I'm thinking about the MMA office, right? I already mentioned it in a video. I want to hand in the year of 2017 and basically what was going on, quote unquote, in the yard, as well as, I guess, what was going on with, Uncle John and whatnot, right? Mainly Uncle John, eh? Because that's when the government of British Columbia, Canada, through Fraser Health Authority, well, not the government of British Columbia, yeah, the provincial government, through Fraser Health Authority, were trying to throw out the lawsuit to hide what they did to Uncle John and the rest of his immediate family, to whom 3 of them are now dead because of the antics of government workers, basically. That's an MLA issue. Okay, that is. Because it's not happening just to one family. Okay, because gang stalking is real. So anyway, but how do you prove it? You see, that's the thing. How do you prove it? Okay. So I'm just going to read what I just wrote, basically, this morning. Oh my God. Okay, and the title of this video is Old People and House Sales, Wildlife, Trees and Yard, July 22nd of 2017, video number 73. Okay?
We're back. I have to go help Maria.
Okay. Right from the start, Judy points out how she could not see very well. Not every well. Very well. Oh, well, I might as well fix it while I'm here. Right? Alrighty. Very well. And how she thought she wouldn't receive proper health care services in light of being gang stalked. Okay, people? Tenant harassment is a form of gang stalking. And there's different forms of tenant harassment for different reasons, I would think. Okay? Let's stay focused here. All right. She mentioned how before Mr. Duncan was medically kidnapped, plans were being made to do dental work for those who needed that done, including Judy. But that never happened for anybody in the house because Mr. Duncan disappeared. All right. Do you not think he was gang stalked for 14 months as those people in Victoria were plotting and scheming how to get him by himself? And if I'm telling you people, if he would have went by himself to Victoria, which he was not capable of doing because of his legs and his eyes and everything, and he was just getting too old by that time, right? Something would have happened to him because they didn't want the kids taking him. But he was going to take them anyway. Anyway, he ended up in the hospital, and instead, that was the easy way to medically kidnap him. Either or. The point is I didn't qualify for no dental. I didn't, right? You know what I'm saying? And at that time, when I did the video, 2017, he had already been gone since February, since February of 2015. You know, he was gone, right? Disappeared into the abyss of freaking whatever. And you know, I was left scrambling, holding the bag as if I was going to go to any kind of healthcare service provider and get quality healthcare, as the healthcare system was slandering me and criminalizing me without taking me to court, as they were committing crimes, stealing John's money, basically through backroom deals and bribes and whatever, because you know Eleanor Gilding paid somebody to do something for her so that she could do what she did right along with the bank. All right. Okay. All right. And then at 10:10 into the video, right, Judy recaps on how the landlady, Mrs. Gill, would say, why fix an old house when it was just going to be torn down anyway, as other houses in the neighborhood were being demolished for unaffordable condo development. I thought you left.
Yes, I'm back.
Are you done?
Yeah.
Well, that was fast.
Yeah, it was a vegetable box.
That's all?
Yeah. You can't really pick up nothing that's over 10 pounds.
How come?
She went for some kind of surgery.
Oh, is she okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
You just can't lift nothing heavy.
All right, well, I hope she's okay. All right, then. Pardon, I'm talking, okay? No, it's not that. I just wish things would get better. Okay, did you get the... Yes, please. And get Amari a bottle of milk with a vitamin D drop. All right. Or, you know what? Actually, no. Start them off with a prune juice, because we're doing the 1 prune juice, and then later on in the afternoon, we'll do 5 more teaspoons of that laxative. Okay? Okay. Trying to work with this laxative stuff. I don't know, people. Anyway. Alright, and then at 12 minutes into the video, Judy brings up a Google map of the house she lived in and went on to say that she believed the picture was taken before the plumber broke the mainline pipe in the front yard, where the plumber and his workers ripped up 4 years of hard work, extreme yard maintenance that was done by Judy to lay down cement brick walkway to cover up half of a front yard full of nothing but sand, gravel rocks, weeds, and cat feces, because that's what was there. Obviously, I'm struggling with my eyes, so my reading isn't fluent, but it is what it is. And then I provide a pic through Google Map of my front yard. All right? And then I just go on to say, Judy reconfirms how the whole yard, from front to back, from side to side, was full of weeds and nothing but morning glory everywhere, and how she was trying to deal with that problem as the city of Surrey started to harass her after the new city hall was built and condo development started. So they started harassing me in 2015-16. And then they came back in 2017. All right. Because they used, in the front, when they came back and had me out in the yard for a year, they used that big pile that the plumber made a mess after it took me 4 years to lay down the walkways and everything. And they came in one day with a backhoe and ripped up everything and moved everything here, there, and everywhere and scattered it all around. And then, of course, you know, what am I going to do? Get out there and be superhuman? No, right? So it wasn't going as fast as people wanted me to do it. Never mind that it took 4 years to do it. So, of course, the city at that time was called on me, right? And then a whip on my back for over a year was Sook. And then they came back in 2017. Yeah. As my landlady was asking me to plant extra food because she had water drainage problems, as I was dealing with doing my own landscaping around the water drainage problems that were here, as well as building this, building that to control weeds. All right. At 2050, Judy shows a Google search of houses up for sale in the city of Surrey, and she points out how the elderly are being forced to sell their homes once they become illegally detained by health authorities and their staff, based on what she witnessed when Mr. Duncan was being illegally detained by Fraser Health Authority and staff. So his assets could be taken away from him. All right? In contrast, Judy reconfirms how her daughter Sierra was treated differently than Mr. Duncan was by government workers, whether healthcare providers, whether by police or by city workers, except to where They're here now. This really fries my eyes. It's so hard to see this mouse. It flies around. To where...
There you go.
Hold on.
I'll just put it down for you. Right here, too?
Yes, thank you. Oh.
Okay. Have more bottle of medicine.
To where Sierra was constantly being mistreated and harassed for being physically ill and suffering from mental health issues and addiction, and who was perpetually homeless due to no fault of her own. Okay? Judy mentions how wealthy immigrants played a major role in the destruction of families. No, sorry, let me read this again. Judy mentions how wealthy immigrants played a major role in the destruction of farmland, where thousands of trees were being cut down to accommodate unaffordable housing projects that only immigrants could afford after being built, as some previous homeowners were being illegally detained within the healthcare system to push that political agenda forward for the benefit of wealthy immigrants and their partner groups. Okay. At 23:15, Judy shows a Google listing of houses for sale in Surrey, where old 3-bedroom ranchers, bungalows, were selling for over $1 million, while 5-bedroom houses, old bungalows, were selling for over $3 million, with all this happening soon after the new City Hall was built in the downtown core of Surrey Central. 26:18 into the video, Judy makes a direct correlation with the exploding homeless population growing as overinflated housing sales created rent gouging. And then I provided a pic of a house that was up for sale 1 block away, right? Judy explains how realtors were selling properties on 132A, which is this pic, right? And 108 Ave in Surrey, 3 to 5 times a year, which is illegal, with multiple houses up for sale on that street to quickly overinflate the housing market in general. And for any landlord that was complaining about that, that was just a fakey-dakey thing. It was fakey. It only benefited them to have... They were 2 Chinese women that were doing that. They'd put up anywhere between 5 to 10 houses up and down 132A, up for sale, all in a row, one sign after another after. I've got video of it pointing it out in a different year, because that's what they did for a few years, and that's how they really jumped up the housing in terms of, like, you know, every time a house would sell, they would be able to put it up a little higher again. And, you know, they were doing that 3-5 times a year, depending on the house. Yeah, a house would sell, and not even 4 months later, the sign would be back up, and they'd be selling it again. So it could be sold 3 to 5 times within a year, that same house, as other houses along the block were all up for sale. And that's how they quickly overinflated the housing market, to which nobody ever did anything about, because in the end, for anybody owning houses that were property developers or, you know, rent, like landlords and those kind of things, it only benefited them. So ultimately, they didn't care if they weren't doing it themselves. All right, Judy had to deal with a growing corrupt housing market where people were using a yard against her, but she was still expected to do extreme yard maintenance. I can't stress it enough. Year after year, as her family members, and including herself, were being targeted via one method or another. Okay? It's systematically dismantling a family that's targeted for human trafficking purposes so that others can build wealth off of the demise of the family. Yeah. That is not a fairy tale. That is reality. Judy then goes on to talk about how in February of 2015, a social worker at the Old Yale Temporary Care Center refused to let Mr. Duncan go home because she made the decision to send him somewhere else where he'd never be able to go back to his immediate family, which was with Judy and his grandchildren. Mr. John Duncan, was targeted. He was targeted, people, for his government pension payments, as well as an inheritance that he did not know about for over 14 months because Eleanor Gilding, his estranged sister, withheld that information from him until such time he ended up in the healthcare system due to an illness, so that she could do what she did by having her brother illegally drugged and detained and illegally transported to Victoria, BC, so she could commit fraud to steal all his money. And that is what she did, with Fraser Health Authority and CIBC Bank helping her. Gang stalking is real and is used to hurt individuals and to dismantle and destroy families, as perpetrators benefit from trafficking human beings for profit. The illegal eviction of Sierra Chorney on December 11th of 2012 by a MCFD social worker to only have Andre Chorney, then illegally, wrongfully apprehended by MCFD on January 15th of 2013, and then to have Mr. John Duncan medically kidnapped in January of 2015 shows a systemic problem where self-interest agendas can easily take root that puts people at greater risks for exploitation, as vulnerable families are being used as commodities to generate wealth for those persons who commit crimes. Okay? Illegal Illegal evictions carried out by MCFD social workers is a crime. Do you know that Andre can take MCFD to court after the age of 19 on his own for what they did to his mother and him? He can do that for himself if he wants to find a lawyer to help him. Because that social worker ruined not only Sierra's life, But she altered the lives of the rest of my family and was the catalyst to dismantle us for further exploitation and targeting of individuals who are unscrupulous in this community. Okay? Anyway, illegal child apprehensions, because what she did was illegal. Why do you think that they didn't want me to take it to trial and they muscled me at the very end right before it was getting ready to go to trial to take the deal so that I could get him back within a week versus being in a trial, duking it out for 6 months and maybe winning? They didn't want that, right? They just, yeah. So they brushed it under the rug. But the damage had already been done. Illegal child apprehensions carried out by MCFD social workers is a crime. Okay? All right? Somewhere in their legislation and their mandates and their rules and regulations and within the Criminal Code of Canada, crimes were committed when that happened. Medical kidnapping falls under the Criminal Code of Canada, okay, of the elderly. So their pension payments and other assets can be illegally seized is a crime. I had something like 73 citations under the criminal code listed when I filed my lawsuit with against Fraser Health Authority and CIBC Bank. I think I said 73 because I've been listening to my videos. 73 different sections within the Criminal Code of Canada where crime was committed by so-called government workers. Okay? And the government, Fraser Health Authority, and their lawyers, they covered it up. And then they covered it up again when I filed the last time because of what was going on with Shemay and everything. Right? But if you notice, Uncle John's story is still there. It didn't go away. Okay? Being threatened with home evictions. Okay? By 2017, this was my second or third bout already with the city. Okay? After they ripped up the front yard with that broken pipe, at some point between the tail end of, I don't have the exact date, but anyway, they had me out in the yard for a year. And it doesn't look like I had very much of a reprieve, only because I was getting involved with the court case. They had to distract me from working on the court case, so what did they do? They came in with the city again and had me working in the yard versus working on the court papers, which is another form of gang stalking through threats of eviction, because I wasn't working hard enough and fast enough to their likings. Right? Okay. Being threatened with home evictions because of a yard that was used as a means to control. That's all it was to control me, people. They didn't want me working on the lawsuit fighting for Uncle John. They didn't want me running from lawyer to lawyer to lawyer, okay, looking for somebody to help me like Uncle John told me, go from man to man to man, fast, 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 until you find one that actually can help you, because clearly Paul couldn't do it by himself, or didn't want to do it because he was getting harassed by the Bar Association for helping me. What little bit he did help me. But, I got that whip on my back. I had to start working in the yard, and, I had to wrap my head around what was going on, and I had to figure out how to write a lawsuit, and I didn't know where to start, And then when I was actually in court with them by that time, right, with the, Fraser Health Authority, and they were trying to throw it out, what did they do? They had the city come back in freaking 2017 as I was going to court, so that I couldn't focus on the appeal, because if I didn't work outside, I would have gotten evicted because I was being threatened to be evicted. That is a form of gang stalking. Okay? That is just a means to dismantle a family. They can exploit the more vulnerables within the family unit for profit so that they can generate wealth for themselves, one way or another. Being threatened with home evictions because of a yard that was used as a means to control a tenant is tenant harassment, which is a crime. Gang stalking is a crime. Tenant harassment is a form of gang stalking. All right. Being forced slowly into homelessness as people are not held to account. Being forced slowly into homelessness as people are not held accountable for their crimes is a crime. We're dealing with crimes, and if I wanted to, I could go into this book, and I still might. Not that anybody respects it, that's for sure, because they don't. And pull up a couple of sections where it relates to everything that I just said there, to remind people that we're supposed to live in a civil society where people's rights are protected under law, whether they're poor or wealthy. But it's like my son says, you're out of touch with reality, Mom. You don't live in the real world. Don't you know that nobody gives a shit about morality? Don't you know that criminal activity is the norm, and that's the only way that you can get ahead in life is by being ruthless and a scoundrel and sneaking around and plotting and scheming and going out of your way to launder money here if you can get away with it, right? You know what I'm saying? Because it seems those are the only kind of people that can actually get ahead in life. Everybody else is subject to what I'm writing to. Become subject. They become subject. They become the next victim. They're in line to be targeted next. Sooner or later, it's going to come their way. And that's why I have to send this more than to one freaking MLA. Because I don't think one MLA is, I don't know, strong enough to stand up against whatever is wrong in society. Because even some of these MLAs are the problem. They vote in the legislation, and even if they make it where it seems fair, when it comes back, like in the lawsuit, they have their checks and balances where whatever they wrote is mute. It means nothing in the great grand scheme of things, because ultimately the parliament buildings themselves are corrupt. And that's what I've learned by doing all this. So it's not that I'm out of touch with reality. Did you see how much I've written so far? It's not that I'm out of touch with reality. I guess it's just that I'm old school. and I believe in people's I don't know, at least some people have ethics and morality and self-worth, and they took an oath to protect the public, and to serve and to protect, or whatever, right? Out of every 100 cops, maybe 5, 10, maybe 20, I don't know, no more than 20, I would say, are good guys, where the other 80 they're partnering up with the body snatchers and cutting backroom deals for kickbacks on the dead bodies that are coming in with murder by fentanyl as they're covering it up. Okay? Yeah. Okay, so this is a playlist that's called The Wrongful Apprehension of Andre. Surrey Housing and Homelessness Task Force meeting, infiltrating. This was done, when was it? I uploaded it anyway. On November 3rd of 2011. Now, there are other clips of this particular meeting, I'm pretty sure, that honestly, I don't even think they all got uploaded in terms of the actual meeting itself. Because in those days, I was a little more paranoid about, whatever, right? Either or, whether it was the one or not, I don't know. I'd have to go into my external hard drives and hunt around and blah, blah, blah. In the meantime, I was wearing my Mayor X hat to this. And, I was already talking about the homeless crisis that was growing. And this was 13 years ago. Right? And at that time, Sierra was doing really well with Andre. She didn't become a full-blown addict until she was illegally kicked out of the house on December 10th of 2012, and by December 21st, that was it. Somebody introduced her to a needle, and she turned into a junkie. While I'm reading the files that I do have on her, when I used to fight for Andre in court, I ended up getting back some of those files from the lawyer that was representing Andre, or representing me, as I went to court 22 times in 15 months fighting for Andre. And then after it was all said and done, he gave me the files that he had, and I have them here, to which they got her listing down somewhere in there that she admitted to using the needle, which is a bunch of, it's falsified information, because that's not true. That was the one thing that she vowed she'd never do, and she was proud that she never did it. Well, everybody around her was turning into junkies with the needle, where she just smoked the meth. And then it went into heroin, and then it went to fentanyl. Well, no, the fentanyl didn't kick in until after they kicked her out in December of 2012. And then I guess she was doing heroin, and then the fentanyl creeped in to the community and replaced heroin. Either or, it was a progression of gang stalking tactics to dismantle the family, starting with the weakest link, which was Sierra and Andre. And then it just progressed. It just progressed. I went to John. And then it went to Shimei. And then it went to Sierra again. And ultimately, it's going to force us into a no man's land, where even more people are going to get injured along the way, if not die. Because that is the pattern. And that is the point of me writing what I write. Is I'm trying to show the pattern. I'm trying to prove that gang stalking exists. And it's being done by people looking to accumulate wealth. Whether it's generational wealth through that organized religion, or whether it's independent wealth through taking backroom deals and selling organs on the illegal black market. Like selling organs illegally on the black market and then laundering that money into a corrupt housing market that the government turns a blind eye to because they see it as, generating an income for their budget and stimulating the economy. So anyway, I told Andre, when my time comes, I don't care if I'm blind as a bat. I'm going down swinging. I'm fighting all the way. If I end up homeless out in the streets, I'll be out there fighting the good fight. I'll find a way. If they think they can lock me up and deem me this and deem me that, well, they're going to have to restrain me, literally, and drug me and keep me like that. And then they might as well sign me up illegally to their MAID program and get rid of me that way. Because I don't think I'll ever shut up about this, people. I really don't. It's too hurtful, you know, and it's too systemic. It's very insidious and seedy and dark. Because this little list that I wrote here, right, being threatened with home evictions because of a yard that was used as a means to control a tenant is tenant harassment, which is a crime. Medical kidnapping of the elderly so their pension payments and other assets can be illegally seized is a crime. The government has yet to deal with that. Illegal evictions carried out by MCFD social workers is a crime, because through that one act alone, that person that did that to Sierra basically put Sierra out on the streets, homeless, for 8 years, being pimped out. As every government worker that came into contact with her over that 8-year period abused her in one way or another by failing to provide her with proper housing, proper health care, proper mental health services, proper support services, where she could get back her life, being that it was taken away by an overzealous 26-year-old out of college individual that had a point to prove that she could do it. Not that it was right, because what they did to Andre was illegal, but it dismantled the family, dismantled the family, dismantled the family even more, continued to dismantle the family, slowly but surely eroded and dismantled the family, and then throw in Shimei, and then the luring of Sierra with her death. And quite possible, never mind quite, she was in a snuff movie, people, and you know I'm going to write it down. I have a right to do that because I have the videos to prove my point. I'm not just saying something, but it's the government that's afraid to look at the proof and doesn't want to acknowledge it. Because ultimately the government, somewhere within that government, with all those individuals, whether they're human or not, because who freaking knows anymore these days, you know, the problem is with them. So what I'm doing, I don't know. What am I doing? What do you think? How far do you think is going to get me? Other than maybe have my eyes go faster, blinder. Would you give up more eyesight just so that you can stand your ground and fight the good fight? And hope that one day, just maybe, you'll come across that one person who actually has some self-dignity and can make a difference in the world and turn some of this garbage crap that we have to live through every day as more and more people are falling subject to that systemic gang stalking that goes on in our communities, so that, you know, they become victims to the predators with no justice. Yeah.